The Twins will give it one more chance. They have never gone winless in Kansas City since the Royals became a team in 1969. They've got one more chance to do it here in Game 3 at Kauffman Stadium. It's another gorgeous night here in Kansas City. Dick and Bert with you for the series finale. And a pitching matchup that has right-hander Kyle Gibson going for the Twins against lefty Danny Duffy. Now, Kyle Gibson has been a very frustrating pitcher to watch this year because of a lack of consistency.
We have seen the good Kyle Gibson. We've seen the not so good at the beginning of the year. In his first 5 starts, the not so good. And then in 8 starts, he was starting to get it, so being very consistent. But over his last 11 starts, really in the second half after the All-Star break, it's been a struggle for Kyle Gibson. But not here in Kansas City. In 4 career starts, 2-2 record, very good, 2.25 ERA, and he made his major league debut here back in 2013 and beat the Royals that day.
Well, the Kansas City Royals have been patient, very patient with left-hander Danny Duffy. They finally put him into the rotation again this year, and now, finally, they're starting to see some rewards.
Yeah, Danny Duffy started the season in the bullpen, and then about the middle of May, they let him go, but they babysat him really for a long, long time until they let him really go. Out of the bullpen, it's all-out effort. That's what they want to see out of Danny Duffy. It's paid off. 12-3 as a starting pitcher.
Twins used to come here to Kansas City and romp over the Royals. 9 games here, they'd pretty much be assured of winning 7 of them, but that has not been the case this year as you look at Danny Duffy's struggles as of late in his last 6 starts and an ERA of 6.5. We'll come back with the first pitch of the final game here in Kansas City in a moment. The Twins will give it one more chance. They have never gone winless in Kansas City since the Royals became a team in 1969. They've got one more chance to do it here in Game 3 at Kauffman Stadium. It's another gorgeous night here in Kansas City. Dick and Bert with you for the series finale. And a pitching matchup that has right-hander Kyle Gibson going for the Twins against lefty Danny Duffy. Now, Kyle Gibson has been a very frustrating pitcher to watch this year because of a lack of consistency.
We have seen the good Kyle Gibson. We've seen the not so good at the beginning of the year. In his first 5 starts, the not so good. And then in 8 starts, he was starting to get it, so being very consistent. But over his last 11 starts, really in the second half after the All-Star break, it's been a struggle for Kyle Gibson. But not here in Kansas City. In 4 career starts, 2-2 record, very good, 2.25 ERA, and he made his major league debut here back in 2013 and beat the Royals that day.
Well, the Kansas City Royals have been patient, very patient with left-hander Danny Duffy. They finally put him into the rotation again this year, and now finally they're starting to see some rewards.
Yeah, Danny Duffy started the season in the bullpen, and then about the middle of May, they let him go, but they babysat him really for a long time until they let him really go. Out of the bullpen, it's all-out effort. That's what they want to see out of Danny Duffy. It's paid off. 12-3 as a starting pitcher.
Twins used to come here to Kansas City and romp over the Royals. 9 games here, they'd pretty much be assured of winning 7 of them, but that has not been the case this year as you look at Danny Duffy's struggles as of late in his last 6 starts and an ERA of 6.5. We'll come back with the first pitch of the final game here in Kansas City in a moment. There's rotten weather elsewhere, but boy, it's just been gorgeous here. Low humidity, temperatures I think right around 70 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, and yet the Twins have never won a ball game here this year. And the Twins with 150 hits against the Royals this year, but it's only translated into 3 wins. Brian Dozier has 11 home runs against the Royals, but he's not in the lineup tonight for the first time since May. Jorge Polanco will take over the leadoff spot. Then Robbie Grossman, Miguel Sano, Kenny Vargas, Max Kepler, Eduardo Escobar, John Ryan Murphy, Logan Schaefer, and Byron Buxton.
And on that big mound here tonight for the Kansas City Royals, it'll be 27-year-old Danny Duffy. Duffy making his 26th start, his 3rd start against the Twins, and his 4th game he relieved against the Twins earlier this year. But in the 2 starts, 1-0 with a 2.13 ERA.
Polanco will lead things off in the leadoff spot. The other day, somebody asked Paul Molitor about the players who've been pleasant surprises, and Paul didn't even hesitate. He said Jorge Polanco, with what he's done, getting his first extended opportunity to play up here, and the numbers across the board very good. And outside, ball 1.
You know, if there's future talk maybe about Brian Dozier going down in the batting order, you know, because of what he's been able to do, driving 99 runs, this guy might be a candidate to be a leadoff hitter. Switch hitter's got some speed, got a pretty good eye at the plate.
Isn't as strikeout prone as some of his contemporaries on this Twins team, like Buxton and Sano. 69 degrees. I was off by 1 degree.
Nice going.
A strike. Over the weekend, I had a chance to interview Miguel Sano and Robinson Cano from San Pedro de Macorís, the same town in the Dominican Republic. Well, Polanco is from there as well. It's a town of about 200,000 people in the Dominican Republic. Pulled, foul, wide of third, 2-2.
They have produced a lot of big league players in that area.
The first one that I was aware of as I looked at the list in advance of the interview, Rico Carty was from there. And as we discussed over the weekend, a man considered to be the godfather of baseball in that town, 2-2 to Polanco, fouled back, is a guy who is a key figure in Twins history in the early 60s, the slick fielding first baseman Vic Power, who kind of adopted the town and helped introduce the game of baseball there. 2-2 to Polanco. Grossman and Sano will follow. And now a full count.
Duffy, 27 years old, in his 6th season with the Royals. He went through the Tommy John surgery back in 2012.
And another foul back. This is a good at bat for a leadoff man who's not used to hitting leadoff.
Yep, fouling off some pitches. Let Duffy show everybody else behind in the batting order what he has so far. Good fastball. Duffy has a hard breaking ball and a changeup.
Another 3-2. Another foul. 3 2-strike fouls. The last time we saw Duffy, he had a beard, didn't he?
He may have.
You don't remember 162 games whether a pitcher had facial hair or not?
No, I don't. What I do remember, Duffy, is one thing that pitching coach Dave Island did with him. He eliminated him going over his head. Now it's almost like a David Price type situation where he almost starts in the stretch position. There's Dave Island. He's helped a lot of young men become better pitchers, and this is one of them.
How about this at bat by Polanco? 10 pitches, 5 2-strike fouls.
And that's what you want out of your leadoff hitter. Now Brian Dozier, we're taking a look at him. Brian, you know, he may have already hit a home run in one of these pitches, but it's a long at bat for Polanco as Duffy's trying to get this guy out.
And he ends up taking a walk. What a marvelous plate appearance for Jorge Polanco. He's aboard, and that'll bring up Grossman. Royals out in the field. One of the reasons that they have beaten the Twins so many times this year, they're better in the field. Alex Gordon in left, Gerard Dyson in center, Paulo Orlando in right, Cuthbert, Escobar, Merrifield, Hosmer, the infielders. Hey, a Drew Butera sighting. He's doing the catching. And now here's Grossman. Swing and a miss, 1 strike.
Grossman, very good numbers against Duffy. 5 hits and 8 at-bats with a home run. .625 batting average. And hitting better from this side where Robbie's hitting .350.
Down and away, 1-1.
Duffy coming off a start in Detroit about 6 days ago where he got beat up. 6 runs in 3 2/3 innings against the Tigers, and they beat him 8-3.
Gave up 3 home runs in that game. Taken low, 2-1. We talked about Grossman's on base percentage right now at .387, and granted he doesn't have enough plate appearances to be listed among the league leaders, but he'd be 6th in the American League. A very good offensive player for the Twins this year. And now a called strike, 2-2. Sano on deck. Driven to right, down for a hit, and Polanco will hold up at second base. So Grossman follows Polanco's extended walk with a sharp single to right field.
Yeah, now he is 6 for 9 against Duffy, so he has had some very good success against him. Fastball. And Grossman didn't try to pull it, went with it, hit it sharply into right field, and Polanco has to stop at second.
And now Sano with 2 men aboard. Sano has not had the type of year the Twins or the Twins fans were hoping for. Hope was that he would put up better numbers this year than last, and that hasn't been the case. And he takes low, ball 1.
Well, as of late, he's been swinging and missing a lot, and then when he does make contact, he seems to be a little bit late getting underneath it and popping it up. But he still has 24 home runs, and he's driven in 61. Average down to 238.
And now 2-0, and Duffy's wobbling a little bit here in the first inning.
And Drew Butera is going to go out and try to get him back in that strike zone.
One of the areas of concern or disappointment for Sano, the number of walks. Last year he had just 279 at bats, but he had 53 walks. This year he's got 421 at bats and 53 walks. I think the Twins project him to be a 100 walk a year guy. Popped up again, this one to right field, and Orlando drifts over. Polanco setting up for a possible tag, and it's just a bluff.
And that's what I was talking about. It seems like as of late, when he does make contact, it's that pop-up.
And now tonight's Toyota key stat. Brian Dozier, of course, leading the Twins in fewest at bats per home run, but Kenny Vargas right behind him. 1 home run every 15 at bats.
9 home runs and 135 at bats,
including one last night as a left-handed batter, as Audra showed you in the open of our show. Vargas's numbers this year in the big leagues the opposite of what they were in the minor leagues in AAA, where he was a much better left-handed batter than right-handed batter, and up here it's been just the opposite. Getting over 400 from this side of the plate. Whistled down the line, but foul by about 3 feet. And it's 1-1. You can see against left-handers, as a right-handed batter, 96 games at AAA, he hit only 131 and over 400 up here. What that tells me is he's got a chance to be a productive hitter from both sides of the plate. Inside, and it's 2-1. fouled away.
You know, he's such a big man. 6'5", 275 is what they list him at. And when he puts that bat over his shoulder, it almost looks like he's swinging a toothpick. Standing in back of the batter's box.
2-2.
Looking for something he can drive in the gap somewhere.
Called third strike. Duffy clipped the corner, 2 down.
Well, Duffy, a strikeout pitcher. He has struck out more than innings pitched. That's 186 strikeouts now in 174 innings. Good pitch right there. Butera holding it. And Mike Winters, the crew chief, calls it a strike.
So far, Kepler this year has hit .204 against lefties, .247 against righties. Grounder to short, and Escobar goes to the bag. The Twins get a leadoff walk and a single, but Sano, Vargas, and Kepler are retired. No score. His last start of the 2016 season. And Ned Yost hoping that his team will finish above the 500 mark, even though last night they were eliminated from the postseason picture. The Menards batting order has Gerard Dyson leading off, then Whit Merrifield, Eric Hosmer, Kendrys Morales, Paulo Orlando, Alex Gordon, Alcides Escobar, Chesler, Cuthbert, and Drew Butera.
Yeah, same lineup we've seen the last 2 nights, except for behind the plate, Drew Butera catching. But Kyle Gibson making his 25th start, his 3rd against the Royals.
And a fastball, strike 1.
2 previous starts he had were in Minnesota, and they didn't fare too well. 0-1 in the 2 starts. Total of 11 innings. They gave up 9 earned runs to the Royals. But again, he has pitched better here at Kauffman Stadium than really any ballpark around.
Weak little pop up, and Sano with the catch, chasing Mike Jerschley out of the way. 1 down. That'll bring up Merrifield, and the Northland Ford defense for the Twins. Logan Schaefer out in left, Byron Buxton in center, and Max Kepler in right. Sano, Polanco, Escobar, Vargas the infielders, and John Ryan Murphy making his 2nd straight start. There's Escobar playing at second base, with Polanco taking his spot in the leadoff spot. Escobar takes Dozier's spot at second base.
That's good. Brian has a day off. I mean, the last week has not been Brian Dozier's best days. So Paul Molitor giving him the evening off right now.
It looked like Brian's average was destined to be
280s.
in the 2. Well, yeah, he had it up to like 288 at one point. And
right.
The way it was trending, it could have come close to 300. Now it's down to 270. This one lined to left, and Schaefer is out there in left field for the catch. 2 down.
Yeah, Merrifield hit it sharply, but it hung up long enough for Schaefer to make the catch for the 2nd out.
2 down, and now Eric Hosmer.
And that's what you like to see from Gibson, attacking early. It's always been the first inning that's kind of gotten away from him. So 4 pitches for Kyle, all of them strikes, and 2 quick outs.
Driven foul into the upper deck here. 1 strike. That's what you're talking about right there. 22 runs allowed in 24 starts. Well, shoot, that's almost 1 per start.
Almost.
1 strike to Hosmer. And now on the outside corner. 94 miles per hour, and it's nice to see Kyle fresh and strong at the end of the season. But you know, of course, the fact remains he's only given the Twins 141 innings this year, and the Twins were hopeful of him getting over the 200 inning mark this year. 194 2/3 last year. And Hosmer waves at strike 3. 7 pitches and a quick 1-2-3 first for Kyle Gibson. The Royals weren't, but both teams ended up scoreless in the first. Eduardo Escobar will lead off the second, then John Ryan Murphy and Logan Schaefer.
You know, of all the switch hitters the Twins have, and there's 4 of them in the lineup tonight, Escobar's the only one that has hit better from the left side than he has the right side. Opposite for Polanco, Grossman, and Vargas.
Popped up right field. Orlando's going to have another chance. And a 1 pitch out here in the second. That'll bring up John Ryan Murphy.
Well, Duffy would like to have that quick inning like Gibson did, because he threw 25 in the first. Remember, 11 to Polanco to start off the ball game.
An opportunity for John Ryan Murphy to catch back-to-back games, and an opportunity for the Twins to see how that second game goes. Murphy has done much better since being called up in September. They have 3 games left in Chicago after tonight's game.
Yeah, Murphy had 2 hits in last night's ball game, both of them doubles.
You can imagine in Chicago, Kurt Suzuki will catch a game, Juan Centeno will catch a game, and Murphy will catch a game, but might see Murphy get more than 1 start in Chicago. Twins want to take a close look at him. Imagined that by the second half of this year he might be their regular catcher, and that obviously didn't work out.
Well, you know what, they traded him, or for him, when they traded Aaron Hicks to the Yankees, and in 3 seasons, 115 games combined, he hit 267 over those 3 seasons. Good minor league numbers other than this year. It's just been a frustrating year for John Ryan Murphy, and I talked to him. He's going to go home and relax a little bit and then really get ready for spring training.
8 for 31 in September. A little bit better than a .250 batting average. And now inside 2-2.
Breaking ball just missing.
Would have helped his status, I'm sure, if he'd gone down to Rochester and hit 270 or 280 down there, but that didn't happen. Swing and a miss. Murphy strikes out, 2 down.
And Duffy picking up his second strikeout. Sometimes when you struggle, you try to do a little bit too much, and that's probably what Murphy went down, trying to impress everybody. New organization. Duffy threw that fastball right by him.
That'll bring up Logan Schaefer. Schaefer getting the start in left field. Swing and a miss. And a big swing at that.
Yeah, opponents hitting 238 off of Duffy this year. He's given up 26 home runs. Left-handers are hitting only 183 off of him. And right-handers 249. Giving up only 1 home run to a left-handed hitter.
A couple of cops to Merrifield. He's there, and a much better second inning for Danny Duffy. Only 8 pitches, setting the Twins down in order. No score, bottom of the second inning, and Kendrys Morales will lead things off, then Paulo Orlando and Alex Gordon. Be interested to see what the Royals do with Morales, whether they will spend enough money to bring him back. He takes a changeup, ball 1.
Oh, he's had 2 very good years here. Of course, part of that World Series championship team last year when he hit 290, drove in 106 runs. He's driven in 93 so far this year.
And it gives Twins, unfortunately, Twins fans, a glimpse of what he could have done in a Twins uniform if he'd had spring training. And the irony is that there were probably more people concerned about his durability than any of the younger players Kansas City has, and virtually everybody around him has gotten hurt except him this year. Alex Gordon's been hurt. Moustakas has been hurt. Lorenzo Cain. And this guy, granted, he's just a designated hitter, but he stayed on his feet. 2-2.
Well, for the longest time they had Billy Butler here that was almost the opposite as far as Morales. He didn't get hurt a lot, but you know what, they just didn't get the power out of Butler that Morales has been able to supply them here. 30 home runs this year, 22 last year. But Gibson, very sharp so far, picks up his second strikeout.
And before Orlando digs in the box, let's go to Audra Martin.
Well, guys, despite the promise that Kenny Vargas has shown in September, the reality is he's likely going to fall victim to the logjam the Twins have over at first base. And I talked to him about that distraction today, and he said, honestly, I don't ever think about it. And he said the reality is, at the beginning of this season, he didn't even think he'd be playing with the Twins until the September call-ups anyways, and he was okay with that. Now, that positive attitude shouldn't surprise you at all. The last time we were in Kansas City, Kenny got the news that he was sent back down to the minors, and even though the announcement hadn't been made to the media, we were trying to figure out who that move was, and a bunch of people were commenting that, well, it can't be Kenny because he's sitting over there smiling and has such a positive attitude. Well, he did know that he had been sent back down to the minors, but that positive attitude is something that you will hear all of his teammates comment on what is his biggest strength, and they love having him around for it. But he says he's not letting things get to him at all. Guys?
Deep to left center field, and Schaefer watches it go. No, off the wall. And it is a double for Orlando.
Yeah, high off the wall right there. Schaefer leaping for it, but it was too high, and Buxton there to back up. Orlando, who came into this ball game with very good numbers, 3 for 7 against Kyle Gibson, got a fastball down, and Schaefer went back. He leaped right there. You can see the ball just kind of next to his glove. Don't think he could have caught it anyway. It would have been a great catch, but Orlando getting the first hit for the Royals. It's a double, his 22nd of the year.
And Buxton with a very nice play on the carom. Orlando runs well. He still is only able to get a double. And now Gordon at the plate with 1 on and 1 out. Ball 1.
Even though Gordon's having a frustrating year, you can see the numbers. The batting average only at .224. He still has hit 17 home runs, and very good numbers against Gibson. 9 hits and 25 at-bats with a home run.
Lifted foul, out of play.
You know, Dick, you mentioned last night Gordon was a free agent. He wanted to come back here. They didn't really know if they kind of fit in their financial plans, but they ended up re-signing him to a 4-year contract with an option for 2020. Spent some time on a disabled list this year with a fractured right wrist.
Orlando at second. 2-1 to Alex Gordon. Nice block by Murphy. Gordon, Moustakas, Hosmer, the nucleus of this Kansas City team that's been in the World Series 2 years in a row. They all of them struggled mightily early in their career. For Gordon, it took about 1,500 at bats for things to finally start clicking for him. That's to center. Buxton will play it on a hop. Orlando will be held at third base. And the throw coming all the way through. Back-to-back hits, and the nice play that Buxton made on the double off the wall, for the time being at least, has kept the Royals off the board.
Now Gordon 10 hits and 26 at-bats against Kyle Gibson. So even though Kyle's pit had a lot of success, there are a couple hitters, one of them Orlando, one of them Gordon, that have had problems against or Gibson's had problems against. Ball left up, sharply hit, and Orlando has to stop at third.
Escobar's bounced into a couple of double plays in this series, and Gibson will try to get him here.
Kyle's had 21 double plays turned behind him. This is his 25th start.
Swing and a foul. It'll roll toward the backstop. 1 strike. Mentioned the Royals were eliminated last night, which means that in the big leagues for the 16th consecutive year we'll have a different world champion. Nobody's repeated in a decade and a half. 1 strike to Escobar. to throw to first. And it'll be the 4th straight year that the defending world champion didn't so much as get back into the playoffs the following year. It's a more remarkable feat now in the case where 10 teams get to the postseason out of the 30. Down and in, 1-1. Back when you guys won it in '87, well, the next year Oakland won the division. You guys were still pretty good, but only 4 teams, 2 in each league, made it to the playoffs. 1-1. 1-2. You saw Ned Yost. He said today that when the season ends, he's going to go back to his farm, lock the gate, not let anybody through, and just spend time on his tractor.
We saw the slider right there, and that's a pitch that Escobar will swing and sometimes swing and miss. See if they go with that slider again. Down and away. Quick throw over to first. Gordon, one of those base runners. He's got 8 stolen bases in 9 attempts that if you don't pay attention to him, he'll take off.
Gibson's thrown over there a couple of times.
Right.
Fouled off the plate, came up and hit Escobar's bat. One and two again to Escobar. Toward the hole. Polanco doesn't have a play. It'll be an infield hit and a run batted in for Escobar. Gibson got his ground ball, but it was hit in a seam to put the Royals in front.
Yeah, Gordon get a good jump too, because the only play maybe Polanco had was to try to get Gordon at second, but he got over there very quickly. Escobar with an infield base hit, driving in his 54th run. And that sinker gets the ground ball, but right in the hole. So Orlando scores, and the Royals take a 1-0 lead.
And now Cuthbert. Fastball inside.
Cuthbert's done a good job with Mike Moustakas out for the year, hitting .278. He has 11 home runs. Came up a little bit last year for the Royals while getting behind Murphy, but runners stay where they're at.
16 errors, which is a big number. Cuthbert's 16 errors lead the Royals. Two and 0. Gibson struggling in the second, giving up 3 straight hits. Chopped foul. Even the foul ball's beaten right into the ground near home plate. You can see why Gibson is so difficult to steal on, because he hardly picks up his left foot at all. He just kind of pushes it forward.
But that's one area that clubs have had success against him for some reason. 11 stolen bases off of him in 12 attempts.
To center, hanging in the air for Buxton. And 2 away. And that'll bring up Drew Butera. Butera enjoying his finest year offensively, actually hitting .264, and he's 4 for 5 against Gibson. Sal Perez is just 3 for 25 against Gibson, so it was an easy decision for Ned Yost to make. Perez a little beaten up anyway, and the numbers would suggest Butera should make this start anyway. Perez does most of the catching, of course, and for Butera, just 110 at bats. But we've seen him both in Minnesota and here. He regularly works out behind the plate, knowing that he isn't asked to catch much. We've seen him practice his throwing from behind the plate just about every series, and that's toward the hole. Under the glove of Polanco. Rounding third. Here's the throw way over everyone, and all the runners will move up. Schaefer's throw not only passed the cutoff man, but it was 3 feet over Murphy's leap. And Butera gets another hit against Kyle Gibson.
And what that allows is Butera to go to second base. So Drew driving in his 15th run. Finding that hole. Polanco tries to knock it down. It gets by him, and Gordon scoring. The throw airmails Murphy, but Gibson there to back up.
Single and a run batted in, going to second on the throw. No error on the play.
You see 7 in the first, 23 now in the second inning. This is what we've seen from Kyle. He has some good innings, and then these innings that just get away from him.
I know Dyson fouled out to Sano. Check swing foul. 4 hits in the inning, but 2 of them have been ground balls through the shortstop hole. Two to nothing Kansas City. And suddenly a big man for Gibson to get. That hit him.
Hey, squaring around the bunt. And I think that left foot got in the way of the breaking ball down.
Here comes Neil Allen, and the fact that it hit Dyson might have saved a run.
Well, take a look right here. Dyson, you know, spinning around. You see where it got the left foot.
This is what we've talked about, Gibson's inconsistency, but my goodness, look at the first inning compared to the second. 1, 2, 3 on 7 pitches in the first. 25 pitches this inning, and the inning started with a strikeout, and 5 of the last 6 batters have reached. Ned Yost talking to Dyson while Neil Allen ran to the mound to talk to Gibson. 25 pitches here in the second inning. Whit Merrifield lined out to left fielder Schaefer his first time up. Gibson didn't get Dyson. Now he really needs to get Merrifield. And that kicks away. Murphy with another slider headed for the dirt.
You know, the only thing I have seen, and I know talking to Jack Morris too about Gibson, he's trying to make every pitch perfect rather than work the corners. He's got to move over a little bit. I'm not saying throw it down the middle of the plate, but seems to fall behind. Ball left up, he gets hurt. Now he's falling behind here. You almost don't want the catcher to move too much behind the plate, because if you sit at the corner, Kyle is trying to make that pitch 2 or 3 inning pitches off the plate. Rather than working those squares at the bottom, he's working outside.
And now back in the strike zone.
Well, yeah, you have to when you're 2-0.
From 2014 to 15, Gibson took off more than a half a run off his earned run average, and the Twins were hoping that would be the case again this year. Instead, his ERA coming into today more than a run higher than it was last year. Chopped to the second baseman, and Escobar ends it. A couple of runs for the Royals, but they leave 3. Gibson endures a rough second inning. Fox Sports North is presented by CenturyLink. Switch to CenturyLink Prism TV for an advanced TV experience. Learn more at cprismtv.com. There's a reason they call this city the City of Fountains. They have a lot of them. There's Neil Allen with Kyle Gibson getting some encouragement, presumably. Rough second inning. And now Byron Buxton will lead off the third. To the backstop, ball one. Buxton hitting .218 on the season, but as we have with Murphy, we like to give you Buxton's September average, which is .273. Trying to build a foundation for this young man to build on for next year. Something positive to take out of the 2016 season.
You know, and that's the thing. You know, this game's supposed to be positive. We try to create positives up here. Sometimes it's hard, you know, 102 losses, but there are positives. You have to look at the future. You hope that Buxton is that center fielder of the future for the Twins. You know, Paul can only run them out there. It's Buxton that has to take off. It's Gibson that has to get better. It's so many things have to get better.
Fouled away.
You know, Kansas City went through what the Twins have gone through, you know, and they matured and they got their at bats. The Escobars, the Hosmers, the Gordons. Gordon started at third base. They have him out left field, and all of a sudden he took off.
2-2 to Buxton. Inside 3-2. That's why, for me, I was very happy to see the Royals win the World Series last year, because they had to show some patience with their cornerstone players like Gordon and Hosmer and Moustakas. And Buxton takes a close pitch for ball 4. He'll draw a walk leading off the third inning.
A second walk for Duffy.
It'd be nice if everybody who was highly thought of in the minor leagues would jump up here and play like Mike Trout right away, but Mike Trout is a once-in-a-generation player, so it's unrealistic to expect everybody to do that.
Yeah, he or Bryce Harper, they don't come around too often.
Jorge Polanco will hit. He had a tremendous plate appearance before drawing a leadoff walk in the first, and a strike over the inside corner. Polanco hitting leadoff, and you can of course imagine a world where eventually Buxton will be the leadoff hitter for the Twins. Big leg kick and a pitch inside to Polanco.
Well, Duffy has that big leg kick, but he has a good move to first too. Left-handers can kind of hold it sometimes. That leg up in the air.
Slow bouncer. Buxton retired. Safe at first. Polanco beat the relay. One away.
Pretty good turn right there by Merrifield. I didn't think it was going to be as close as it was. That ball wasn't hit very sharply, but a nice little shovel pass by Escobar. And Merrifield making a pretty good turn right here, getting rid of it quickly. But Polanco and his speed stays out of the double play.
Here's Robbie Grossman, a solid single for Grossman. One of the things I've enjoyed about watching Grossman at the plate this year, he seems to have figured it out in terms of using the whole field, and the Twins have a bunch of young hitters who are learning, have not figured it out yet. And we were talking about it before the game. Look at the big hits in the ball game last night for Kansas City that got them the win. Dyson went to the opposite field for his double, and then Kendrys Morales, hitting right-handed, dropped one down the right field line for the deciding hit.
That's still a pretty good pitch by Taylor Rogers. It was up and in, but he just kind of inside outed it, and it landed about 2 feet fair.
And now a double play grounder. Merrifield, Escobar, and Buxton draws a walk, but Duffy faces just 3 men in the inning. of the third inning. And Hosmer went deep last night.
Yes, he did. He went deep off of Irvin Santana in the third inning. That gave the Royals an early 2-0 lead. Then Vargas's 2-run home run in the sixth tied it at 2 apiece.
Hosmer will lead things off against Gibson. First pitch chopped to first. Vargas got a good break on the ground ball. Got the first hop, one away. And that'll bring up Kendrys Morales. Our CarSoup.com trivia question: who holds the Royals record for most RBI in a single season against Minnesota?
Steve Balboni. I just
because he hit
his name
you?
Out there, yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I just throw his name out there.
It's probably somebody like Kevin Seitzer, somebody you wouldn't really immediately.
You would think of George Brett right away.
Think of Brett. Guys in the 70s, Amos Otis.
Hal
People
McRae
like
was a good hitter.
In fact, that's probably going to be my choice, Hal McRae.
I might go with John Mayberry.
1-1 to Morales. Morales struck out to start the second inning, and then the trouble began for Gibson. 2-1.
Gotta love those first pitch outs that Hosmer did after throwing 29 pitches in the second. Good changeup right there. Gibson making his 11th career start against the Royals. He's 5-4 with a 3.38 ERA. Again, has pitched better here than in Minnesota against the Royals.
Topper to short. 2 down, and that'll bring up Orlando. 2017 season tickets are on sale right now. You can choose from the full season, partial season, or ever popular flex plan. All season ticket packages include membership in Sweet Spot, the Twins season ticket benefits and rewards program. You can go to twinsbaseball.com or call 612-375-7454 to learn more. The Royals come to Minnesota to start the season next year, and for just the second time in Target Field history, the Twins will open up the season at home. That's a fair ball past Sano, and Orlando will have yet another extra base hit. A 2-out double into the left field corner.
Orlando now 5 for 9 against Gibson. Getting his second double, his 23rd of the year. Taking that ball right down that third baseline. Sano diving for it, but it's by him into the corner. And Schaefer has to play the carom and get it back in.
And now Alex Gordon, who singled his first time up. Strike on the outside corner. Talking about the Royals coming to Minnesota. The season will open next year at Target Field April 3rd against the Royals. Then an off day, and then an afternoon game on the 5th. And this can't be right. Twins are actually playing a game on April 6th. That gets between the legs of Murphy, and if pitch was in the dirt, it might be ruled a wild pitch, but that's one Murphy usually blocks.
Yeah, that's a ball that should be blocked right there. Take a look at the pitch right here. Did it skip off of the plate? No, that's just a ball that got behind Murph.
Should be a pass ball, and it is. Now runner at third, 2 away. Gibson can hope to go after Gordon and keep this a 2-0 ball game.
Well, they changed it to a wild pitch.
Oh, really?
Maybe because it hit the dirt first.
That's one Murphy would be the first to tell you he's got to block that one.
Right.
if not catch it.
Well, there's 2 outs here. Orlando at third. Get this guy out at the plate. No harm done.
Pulled foul. I don't think the Twins should play games on April 6th.
Should be a national holiday.
I don't think there should be mail delivery on April 6th.
I agree. Boy, is it a Sunday? It's not a Sunday, is it?
No,
I was going to say
it's a Thursday.
Oh, it's a Thursday. Okay. It's a huge day.
That'll be your birthday, I know, and it'll be what, 70, 80, how many?
I'll be 96 years old.
1-2. Swing and a miss, and Gibson pitches around the double. And the pass ball / wild pitch. It's still 2-0. North is presented by Northland Ford. Visit northlandford.com and your local Northland Ford dealer today. And by Grand Casino. The best stories start here. What's yours? Beautiful weather here in Kansas City. Unfortunately, the Royals leading again 2-0. Not so beautiful weather in Detroit today. The big game between the Tigers and the Indians after a rain delay of over 4 hours was postponed till Monday, and it'll only be played. Here's a deep drive to right, and going back is Orlando, and Sano pins Orlando up against the fence in right, 1 away. An out, but an out I think that'll draw approval from the Twins dugout, with Sano driving it a long way to the opposite field.
Yeah, second fly ball to Orlando. The other one coming in the first inning. It was kind of a short fly ball, but that one got underneath it again, but still hit it a long way. See the strength of Sano.
Yeah, I just saw Rudy Hernandez, the assistant hitting coach, patting Sano on the back. I think that's one of the key things for Sano to unlock his potential, to understand that if you hit it 370 feet to right field, it counts just as much as hitting one 470 feet to left field. 1 strike to Vargas. Anyway, the game the Tigers were supposed to play with the Indians was rained out. The batting tunnels, the batting cages at Comerica Park were underwater for a while today. They got over 6 inches of rain in Detroit, and they'll play that game Monday only if it means something in the wild card race.
Yeah, for Detroit.
For Detroit.
Right.
Or home field advantage for the Indians, which is a distinct possibility.
Right.
It has set things up though for the Tigers. They could play Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They could play 5 games in 5 days in 5 different cities, depending on whether there are 2 wild card teams going in or whether there's a tie, a 3-way tie or a 4-way tie.
That's a lot of frequent flyer miles. You said you wanted to go to Australia. I think we should jump on their planes and take
Get
off.
up enough miles, and then would you go with me to Australia?
Sure, yeah. Get enough miles.
2-2 to Vargas. Hit hard on the ground, and that's under the glove of Cuthbert. And Vargas will have yet another extra base hit. A stand-up double with one out here in the fourth.
That looked like maybe a breaking ball, something that kind of hung up a little bit, and Vargas turned on it. Cuthbert at third base dove for it, got through him. That's a fastball. It just got out front. Right off the tip of the glove, and Gordon has to retrieve it and get it back in. So for Vargas, his 11th double. Twins pick up their second hit off of Duffy.
And Kepler takes outside, ball one.
Twins trying to do something here tonight that nobody has done yet against Duffy here at Kauffman Stadium this year. In 14 starts, 21 games, he's 7-0 here at Kauffman Stadium. And he started the season in the bullpen, but over his last 14 starts here, he has been perfect.
Kepler takes outside, 2-1. And that brings up kind of a sore spot for Kyle Gibson. He's just 1-8 this year at Target Field. Belt high strike, 2-2. Twins wrapping up this series against a tough lefty, Danny Duffy. Taken low, 3-2. They'll wrap up the season Sunday. I guess another tough lefty. White Sox announced today that Chris Sale will pitch the season-ending game in Chicago.
His name's in that running for the Cy Young Award, so he's looking for a good outing.
Kepler drives it hard to center, and Dyson goes back to make the catch. Kepler hasn't had much to show for it, but he's been swinging the bat a lot better over the last few games. A line out to center for out number 2, and Vargas goes to third. Wild hockey returns October 13th. Bert, we're getting you ready for all the action Friday with Wild season preview. Join Anthony LaPanta, Mike Greenlay, and Wes Walls as they take an in-depth look at the upcoming season. Wild season preview Friday, following Twins live only on Fox Sports North. And Wild hockey returns when?
Yeah, October 13th. Now it's about time.
Yeah.
I mean, they ended only a month ago. It's about time they start again.
Here is Escobar. Twins need a 2-out hit, and Escobar takes up and away.
I want the Wild to bring home that Stanley Cup. That's what I want.
Minnesota pro teams, of course, the North Stars have been there twice to the Stanley Cup Finals. I think you know me enough to know that I'm a baseball guy, but I will tell you, the years that I covered the North Stars, the playoff hockey is
good hockey.
Oh, so incredibly fun and intense. Swing and a miss, 1-2.
It was a goalie they had, Gump Worthley.
Gump Worsley, yeah.
He did it without a mask.
Yep.
Wow. Bet you he's got some nice teeth.
He's passed now, but he managed to
keep the puck out of his face.
I don't know whether it was on or not, but he had teeth every time I saw him. A liner caught by Escobar. Escobar hit the line drive, and Escobar caught it. And the Twins leave Vargas at third base. Some well-hit balls in the fourth inning.
Royals lead in the bottom of the fourth. Now, John Ryan Murphy caught Gibson's start 2 weeks ago against the Mets, and that one started out just like tonight's game. And Gibson gives Murphy a lot of credit for getting him back on track. Earlier that day, Kyle was talking to some of the other pitchers about how important it is to still have fun. Well, Murphy obviously overheard him, because in that first inning, he went out to talk with Kyle and said, "Man, isn't this a blast out here?" Well, Kyle looked at him and said, "What are you talking about, dude? The bases are loaded and we're down a few runs." And Murphy goes, "Yeah, I know, it's baseball. Isn't this great? It's so much fun." Well, Kyle said that was all the reminder that he needed about the conversation he was just having earlier that day. It said he cleared his mind, he got back on track. So he talked about how Murphy has this uncanny ability to really be able to read his pitchers. Hopefully that's going to be the case here tonight again, guys.
Well, thank you, Audra. Alcides Escobar tried to bunt his way aboard. A foul ball, 1 strike. Swing and a miss. I think when fans are allowed to hear what goes on between you players, it really gives them a little insight as to how human the game is. The infamous story before Game 7 of the 1975 World Series. Pete Rose talking to Carlton Fisk. There's a ball hit to short, and Polanco has it, fires across, 1 away, and just marveling at what a great World Series it was. And then Lonnie Smith and Brian Harper having a similar exchange before a Game 7 of the 1991 World Series. 1 down on the 4th. Chris Cuthbert, the batter. I'm sorry, Chesler Cuthbert. Strike on the outside corner. Now, some of the things you players share with one another is not fit
That's
for
why I haven't said anything.
public consumption, but
yeah.
You know.
You know, when I came up in 1970, and I'm going old school, we weren't even allowed to talk to the other team. We got fined if you were fraternizing, say, even behind the batting cage. Now it's like a big party back there. The game has changed. You know, free agency has created a lot of that. But it was a different game back then.
That was the infamous story of Bob Gibson when he would show up in the clubhouse for all-star games. Gibson wouldn't say hello to Willie Mays, Roberto Clemente, anybody, because he didn't want to lose that edge he felt he had on the mound. He didn't want them to feel like they got to know him at all. 1 and 2. Hook foul.
I like that. I like that a lot, the way the game was played back then.
How many thousands of dollars would you get fined in 1970 if you were caught saying hello to Al Kaline or something?
First of all, we didn't make thousands of dollars. It might be $20, might be 50.
Where'd the money
at the
go?
Most. Probably into the manager's pocket. I have no idea. I stayed clear of it.
Half swing, I think he went, and so does Mike Winters. 2 down.
Yeah, Gibson picking up his 4th strikeout.
And that'll bring up Drew Butera. Injury report brought to you by Sanford Health, and Daniel Murphy unlikely to play again in the regular season. Strained left buttocks, the official diagnosis. And they are saying their attitude now regarding Steven Strasburg is they don't expect him to come back and help in the postseason. If he does, it's a bonus.
Right. You know, they lost Wilson, their catcher, and now
Wilson
Murphy.
Ramos, right?
Yeah.
What is it, just me, or are there more injuries like that to key players for contending teams?
Well, I don't know how many guys hurt their buttocks, but
you know, if they're hurting, right? It's hard to play the game of baseball.
Run, Forrest, run.
1-1 to Butera. Well, when you guys went into the playoffs in '87, I remember Gladden had a little bit of a hamstring strain and a little bit of an abdominal pull for Herbeck.
Yeah, everybody's hurting. You know, you're playing 162 ball games. You're not going to go in and be 100%. But I'll tell you what, there's a different light that goes on in those playoffs. Because you're ready. You are ready. You better be ready.
And Butera strikes out, and Gibson has settled down quite a bit since a rough second inning. It's 2-0 Kansas City.
Nothing lead. Danny Duffy starting his 5th inning. And Twin fans, don't forget at Twin home games, you bring your Circle Me signs like that. Circle Me Bert, you are hereby circled. You may find yourself in a Minnesota Lottery winner's circle. We're happy birthday to you, young man, where you can win $100 worth of lottery scratch-off tickets courtesy of the Minnesota Lottery.
John Ryan Murphy takes a fastball over the inside corner, strike one. Cleveland Indians come to town here for 3 games. In fact, they're probably on their way here right now after the postponement. Here's a ball hit to left center, but it'll hang up there for Dyson. 1 away. And this is a time when, you know, some final games are being played and some notable games. We mentioned it, I think, last night. Final home game of the year for the Padres, and so the final home broadcast for Hall of Fame broadcaster Dick Enberg. And the final game, David Ortiz will play at Yankee Stadium tonight. And they, as they said in the pregame announcement, put the rivalry aside and honored Ortiz before the game. You're talking about fraternization with the other team. Can you imagine that ever happening in years past, where a rival player for the Red Sox will be honored at Yankee Stadium?
No.
Schaefer with a bunt, and Duffy can't get it, and Merrifield can't barehand it. Logan Schaefer with a bunt single with 1 out here in the 5th.
Yeah, nicely placed right there. Now Duffy, a left-handed pitcher, he's falling off toward that 3rd baseline. He tried to come back, but the ball bunted pretty hard right here. He's trying to bunt it past the pitcher. Exactly what he did. Merrifield had no chance. Well, very nice bunt. That's what Buxton tried to do the other night, but just bunted it a little bit too hard over to Hosmer.
In his first plate appearance tonight, he fell behind but drew a walk. Down and in, ball 1. And that is going to be a key part of Buxton's development too, drawing more walks. You would like to believe the strikeouts will diminish over time, but the walk was just his 20th in about a half a season. 285 at bats and 20 walks, and if he could ever double that walk rate and get it to the 80 walks per full season, his speed is a game changer.
Now a couple throwovers, trying to keep Schaefer close to first. I mentioned that Duffy has a pretty good move. He has 5 pickoffs this year, and there's only been 1 stolen base against him in 4 attempts.
Up high, 2-0.
What the Royals have, they have 2 catchers that have outstanding throwing arms, Salvador Perez and also Drew Butera.
Liner, and Escobar sits down to catch the line drive.
Twins have hit some balls hard. Remember last inning, Escobar hit a ball sharply. It looked like it was going to go to left field, and Escobar caught that.
Kepler sent Dyson back near the warning track with a line drive. Sano with a warning track fly ball to right. 2 down, and that'll bring up Polanco. And another flip to first. Polanco with a walk, and then he reached on a fielder's choice.
You know, Danny Duffy's has really had the Twins numbers over his career. Over 11 career starts, he's 5-1 with a 2.53 earned run average. That's as a starter. Overall, 5-1 with a 2.29. He made 4 relief appearances, covering 6 2/3 innings of shutout baseball.
Fouled away. 1 strike to Jorge Polanco. Twins had a couple men on in the first. Took a leadoff walk in the third, a 1-out double in the fourth. Polanco down the line and foul by inches.
Good swing right there by Polanco. Sometimes you need some luck in this game too. Twins haven't had a lot of that as of late. Tried to speed up delivery. Duffy did right there, and he left the ball up, and Polanco maybe missed a double extra base hit by a foot or 2.
Now this is behind the umpire, so it is a challengeable call. Paul Molitor has a foot out of the dugout, but I don't. Well, there's Joe Vavra in the background there taking a look at it. And inches foul, maybe by the width of the baseball. 2 strikes to Polanco. Checked his swing. 1 and 2.
Yeah, nice stop by Butera on that ball in the dirt. Keep Schaefer at first base. Duffy making his 106th major league start, his 134th appearance. 36 wins, 33 losses, an ERA at 3.69. He has 1 save in his career, 1 complete game coming earlier this year.
Polanco takes strike 3. Twins get a bunt single from Logan Schaefer. They still have been shut out through 5 by Danny Duffy. Mountain Dew fans of the game hoping the Twins can beat the Royals here in Kansas City for the first time this year in their final game here. Dyson jabs at it, strike one. You know, this, I guess the only good thing is there's some symmetry to all this. The Twins are losing games now at the end of the season the way they did in the first week and a half. Generally low scoring games. And Twins lost their first 9 games, and it's kind of what we've seen here towards the end. Most of the games have been pretty well pitched games. Swing and a miss, 0-2. But as is the case so far here tonight, 2 runs seem more like 5 or 6 because the lineup is struggling. 0-2 to Dyson, then Merrifield and Hosmer. And over the inside corner, Gibson struck out 3 men in a row.
That's 6 strikeouts now for Gibson. On 3 pitches, Dyson tried to bunt the first pitch, then swung at a changeup, and then takes that 2-seamer that comes back over the plate for strike 3.
Fox Tracks presented by Ram, and now Merrifield is 0 for 2. And Gibson throwing strikes, gets a breaking ball over.
Now that's that curveball that Kyle will feature once in a while. 4 strikeouts of the last 5 batters he's faced.
65 pitches, 46 strikes. And time called. Irvin Santana's season's done after a decent start last night. This will be Gibson's last start. The biggest issue the Twins have had this year has certainly been generally pitching, but finding somebody other than Santana that they can rely on. We joked about it. Well, I flippantly said as much last night, but I had no idea. I mean, look at Santana's ERA, and the rest of the teams is 2 points higher than Santana's, and the rest of the starters is almost double of Santana's.
Yep.
I mean, that's hard to believe.
Yeah, 10 different starters used besides Santana this year with that high ERA.
3.38 for Santana and 5.37 for everybody else that's pitched a game, including Eduardo Escobar. Another strikeout, 4 straight for Gibson.
And 7 in the ball game.
And here comes Hosmer.
Well, they're chasing that breaking ball. At least Merrifield did here. The ball down and away, out of the strike zone. Gibson's high in strikeouts this year, 7. So he ties that against the Chicago White Sox in Chicago back in late June.
Hosmer with a strikeout and a ground ball to Vargas. Big swing and a miss.
All right, the most pitches used, 29 in the second inning. Other than that, very, very good. 7 in the first, 12, 30, 13, 8 so far. 2 outs here in the 5th. I don't think Hosmer's taken a pitch yet. I think he swung at every pitch. There's one he took.
In Hosmer's second year in the big leagues, 2012, he hit .232, 14 home runs, 60 runs batted in. And he's having, frankly, a disappointing year this year, except for the power and the runs batted in. Batting average is way down.
He came into the year as in 5 seasons with the Royals a .280 career hitter. Last year hit .297 for the World Series championship team. Drove in 93, a career high, but now the career high 103 he's had this year, along with the 25 home runs hit.
And now 2-2.
Good change up there by Gibson.
And we throw that out there just to prove the point we were making earlier, that the Royals had to be patient with these guys and got to the World Series because they didn't blow it all up and start over again. They made a commitment to this core group of players and eventually reaped the rewards of that. And now down and in, 3-2. back-to-back World Series appearances in the championship last year, beating the Mets. Full count as Gibson tries to strike out the side. Fouled back.
Gibson has family and friends here. Twins #1 pick back in 2009 out of the University of Missouri, out of Columbia, Missouri, about an hour and a half from here.
Spent a lot of time in Columbia, Missouri in my youth.
Going fastball away. And he misses down. First walk for Gibson.
A 2-out walk, and Morales will hit. It's not too early to start planning your 2017 celebrations at Target Field. Target Field suites are available for single game rental for groups of 16 to 150 plus. You can enjoy a climate controlled experience, a fantastic view of the Twins game with food and beverage included. Learn more at twinsbaseball.com/groups or call 800-33-TWINS. Schedule your suite at Target Field.
We got a pinch hitter here for Morales.
Hunter Dozier, no relation. Don't know whether there's something up with Morales.
Well, Dozier, 25 years old, Royals #1 pick back in 2013. A September call-up. Started the season in AA, moved up to AAA. Got some pop in his bat, 23 home runs this year.
Nice stop by Murphy, keeping Hosmer at first base. One and one. Snapped his bat. Escobar racing out to the outfield, making the catch. Eventually making the catch, gathering it in. Looks like he might have touched the ball about 3 or 4 times with the glove before finally securing it. And the 5th inning ends. Up from his AA post, managerial post, to help out at the end of September. He'll be with the team through Friday's game in Chicago, and then he'll be going to Boston, talking about final games and The Red Sox are putting together a special ceremony to honor David Ortiz in his final regular season game. The Red Sox, of course, are in the playoffs. So Doug, who also won a World Series with the Red Sox, invited to participate in the big ceremony for Big Papi.
Yeah, very nice.
Grossman takes strike 2. Grossman, Sano, and Vargas here in the Twins' 6th inning.
The Twins have been only able to muster 3 hits off of Duffy.
Bouncer to third. Chesler Cuthbert. And Grossman retired 1 away. The timeless moment tonight. I had nothing to do with this. Brought to you by Coors Banquet. On this day in 1986, Cleveland's Jay Bell hits the first pitch he sees in the majors for a home run off Minnesota's Bert Blyleven. The long ball breaks Robin Roberts' infamous record when Blyleven served up his 47th of the season. The record was 46, and you blew past it that year.
Yeah, I ended up giving 50 that year.
Now tell the fans the story. I wish there was a picture. Actually, I have seen pictures, but I wish there was video of what happened. Your final home start, and you got to give the background of this after you pitched your last game that year for the Twins in 1986, and you pitched a complete game.
Right, and Jim Wiesner, our clubhouse guy, came out in the Gopher mascot costume and congratulated me on not on the win of giving up 50. Yeah,
50 Gopher
They already had made up a T-shirt, 49 and counting, before I went into that ball game. So I felt I needed to, add to that shirt.
Right. Now the next year,
I did.
The next year you gave up 46.
Yeah.
So that's 96 home runs you gave up in 2 years.
Yeah. I won 32 ball games and led the league in innings pitched. So, but I had Puckett, Herbeck, Gaetti. I'd like to know how many home runs they hit for me.
And how many Puck brought back?
Oh, probably, yeah. I made them hero.
I mean, it's 50. So no swings and misses 2-2, but I gotta believe, Kirby brought a couple of them back.
Okay, now I did some research on that because you told me before the ball game. Okay, that year I gave up 50 in 1986. I worked 271 and 2/3 innings. Led the league in innings pitched.
That's a fair ball. And Sano retired by a half step 2 down.
Yeah, nice play by Cuthbert right there, throwing very solidly over to first base to get Sano. Now, Jose Lima gave up 48 home runs.
I had forgotten that.
I was going to follow him around. Take a look at this play right here. Because there was a chance, he had a chance to break my record. So I was going to get on a plane and kind of follow him around back in 2000. He worked 196 and a third innings and gave up 48 home runs. So I threw 75 more innings and gave up 2 more home runs.
Deep drive to center field.
Speaking of home runs, see?
Crushes one. Almost off the batter's eye in center field.
Why did we not start talking about home runs earlier?
Well, we did
like about
actually in
6 months ago.
In the Sano at bat. Vargas hits his 10th, and it was a no-doubter to center field, and there haven't been too many no-doubters hit here to center field.
Again, the strength of Kenny Vargas. That is his 5th home run as a right-handed hitter. His 10th home run overall. And that uppercut swing straight away center, 410 over that fence. And that was long gone.
And Vargas becomes the 9th Twin to get double digits in home runs. Eduardo Nunez, of course, left the Twins with double digits before going to the Giants. Many nights the Twins are on the board, measured at 420 feet, 421 feet, and it was over the second wall in straightaway center field.
That seemed longer than that. If that fence is 410, that ball cleared that by at least 20 feet, maybe more.
Orlando with a pair of doubles and a run scored. And a strike. And just a single this time, but 3 hits for Paulo Orlando. Started the game with a .301 batting average, and well, Ned Yost talking before the game today that they didn't think that Orlando would produce as much as he has offensively.
Well, here's a guy again, 10 years in the minor leagues, finally getting an opportunity to play on a regular basis and doing well. And against Kyle Gibson, Orlando now 6 hits in 10 at-bats.
And now Alex Gordon, a single, a run scored, and a strikeout, and now a foul over the Twins dugout.
Gibson giving up his first hit since the 3rd inning, so he was on a little bit of a roll. See if he can get a ground ball right here, turn a double play.
Down and in, and thrown out at second by John Ryan Murphy.
They tried a little delay steal right there, held up almost what Dyson did here the other night.
Was it Dyson or Gore?
Was it Gore?
I think it was Gore.
Was it Gore that did that? But he kind of held and then he took off, and a good strong throw. And a quick tag by Polanco. That throw right into the sliding Orlando for the first out. So Orlando getting caught just for the 3rd time in 17 tries.
1-1 to Gordon, and now in the dirt. You know, it's nice to see Murphy now. That's his 3rd throw out in September, and he's only been catching about once every 3 games. But you know, that's a nice play, and I was asking Paul Molitor about the delayed double steal. Byron Buxton tried it once this year, but the ball was put in play. But that's a really good play. It's fun to watch that work because of the element of surprise. But when you try it twice in the same series, the Twins were ready for it, and Murphy came up with a strong throw to get the speedy Orlando. 3-1 now to Gordon, and a foul back.
Watch Orlando right here. He kind of takes that walking lead and then took off. And Murphy, you're right, right on the button.
3-2 now to Gordon. And a changeup in the dirt, breaking ball in the dirt. Gordon just walks to the dugout, and that will be the strikeout for out number 2.
No, you don't have to throw to first if that hitter walks on that grass. So Gibson picking up a season high 8 strikeouts.
It's a changeup.
Changeup, yep. Good movement down. So strikeout number 8. Kyle's high 9. He did it a couple times. Last time he did it last year in Cleveland.
Escobar with an RBI single and a grounder to short. A tapper foul, 1 strike. There's a bunt up the line. Gibson falls down. The ball rolls foul.
Kyle slipping on the mound. He is going to go try to get that ball and just tumbled. Santana likes it. See Gibson taking off, and sometimes those shoes just get in the way.
And I would imagine if you're Gibson, the last thing you want to do is look into your dugout, right? Two strikes to Alcides Escobar.
Well, so far, Kyle Gibson having one of those good outings that we talked about.
88 pitches, 60 strikes. That's about a 70% strike percentage, and then he bounces one off of Murphy's mask. 1-2. 2-1 ball game. Twins obviously with a good chance of winning this ball game. It's just that against the Royals there have been very few big hits for the Twins late in games to win a game like this. Another one in the dirt. 2-2. Chesler Cuthbert on deck. That's poked to right. Kepler dives and makes a great catch in the gap. Max Kepler with a tremendous catch to end the inning. Story of the game and another low scoring game.
Yeah, you know, Escobar picking up a base hit right there in the second inning is Drew Butera with an RBI single made it a 2-0 ball game. But Kenny Vargas hitting a home run, his 10th of the year, 2-1 ball game, top of the 7th.
And I shortchanged the Twins. They have 10 players now with 10 or more home runs. I had forgotten about Byung-Ho Park. So the major league record is 11. Here's a ball whistled to left field, and Escobar gets aboard. Leadoff single, and the tying run's aboard now for Eduardo Escobar. The major league record for players on a roster, a season roster with 10 or more home runs, 11. The Astros did it last year, and the 04 Tigers did it.
Well, fastball, middle in, and Escobar opening up quickly and getting at first base with nobody out. I think the Twins come back and tie this ball game and go ahead.
John Ryan Murphy with a strikeout and a deep fly to center. Down and away, strike one. Twins are seeing in limited duty, albeit, but they're seeing from Murphy what they thought they would get immediately at the start of the season. I don't know that people envision him being a 300 hitter, but I think they thought 250, 260.
Right. Last year for the Yankees, he hit 277 in 67 ball games. Had 155 at bats last year. Again, they're getting a guy that, you know, in the minor leagues, a good hitter throughout his Yankee days.
Just a little bit low. Duffy didn't miss by much. 1-2.
But this year in Rochester, 83 ball games, hit 236. And that's only because the last couple of weeks he brought that average up.
Yeah. 1-2. Sharply hit to center. Murphy with a base hit, and the 7th inning starts with a pair of sharp line drive singles. And before Logan Schaefer hits. Fox Sports Supports is proud to team up with Positive Coaching Alliance and its mission to develop better athletes, better people, by working to provide all youth and high school athletes a positive, character-building sports experience. Visit FoxSportsSupports.com to learn more. See what the Twins do here with Schaefer. He bunted for a hit his last time up. Maybe asked to drop down a sacrifice bunt here. With Buxton on deck.
Yeah, Schaefer, pretty good handler with the bat.
And Butera calling timeout.
Does not have a sacrifice yet. Royals looking for the possible bunt.
Schaefer in the lineup in part because he's hit left-handers a lot better than right-handers. Coming into the game with a .357 average against lefties. Squaring and taking ball 1. And Butera made Escobar scramble back to the bag. Both Kansas City catchers, Perez and Butera, will do that. You can take an extended lead, but be prepared to go into code red.
Well, and that helps in these situations because Cuthbert on that play was going back to third base, so Duffy's responsibility to get to the line.
Now a called strike, 1-1.
Meaning the third baseline. If the third baseman, if that's the play that's on, they're trying to get Escobar at third base.
And Hosmer charging in from the right side.
So you want to bunt it toward third base. Make the third baseman come in and field it.
Inside move and Escobar back to the bag.
And Schaefer showing that he was going to square around to bunt again. And remember too, Hosmer, a left-handed thrower, so if you bunt it to him, he can wheel it over to third very quickly.
And they make the third base. I'm not sure where Cuthbert was going to throw it.
Well,
he fielded it and turned to third base. It's a sacrifice. Both runners move up.
Yeah, Cuthbert may be thinking now's a play that Escobar, the shortstop, was going to go cover third as he had to charge.
So a sacrifice, first out of the inning, but now the tying runs at third and the go-ahead runs at second.
Exactly what you want to do in this situation. Bunt it toward third. And you see what that does for our Escobar. He can just walk over to third. So an outstanding bunt by Schaefer.
A bunt single, now a sacrifice bunt. And here's Buxton. Corner infielders up. Buxton a walk and a line out to the shortstop Escobar. And a liner into left center field. And that'll run the gap. Certainly scoring two. Buxton flies around second. He'll go to third with a two-run triple. You know, ordinarily, I think fans are this way too. You see a hit and you want to see the run scored. But it's so tempting.
I didn't care about the runs.
It's so tempting to just watch him fly around the bases.
I did. I watched him fly around from first to third. You know, jumping on that breaking ball, lining it into left center, and that ball rolling all the way to the wall. So it's off to the races. Escobar and Murphy score, but who cares? Watch this. Look at those strides. It's a stand-up triple for Buxton. That's his 6th triple of the year.
The Twins have a lead in the late innings here. Polanco will bat. We'll see if the Royals bring the infield in. Some possibilities here. Polanco, pretty good bunter. You have maybe the fastest man in baseball at third base. Royals do have the infield in. And Polanco hitless in the series. Drew a walk to start the ball game. Strike one.
Well, Duffy's left some pitches up this inning, and the Twins have taken advantage of it. It was Escobar and Murphy getting high fastballs, and then Buxton getting the breaking ball to hit the triple.
Backhanded by Butera.
And again, what set that up was a nice bunt
by Schaefer.
Yep. Chris Young getting up.
And a liner to center. Polanco will bring home Buxton. And the Twins, who hit the ball really hard in innings 4 and 5 against Duffy, have continued through innings 6 and 7.
And Yost coming out, so Duffy's evening is done as Polanco picking up an RBI, his 23rd. And the Twins take a 4-2 lead with 3 runs scored. You hear that? 3 runs scored here in the 7th.
And Buxton trotting home. Danny Duffy with the tip of the cap to Mike Winters, a home plate ump, coming off the mound for the last time in what might be a breakout year for Duffy.
Some pitches up in the 7th. Twins able to score 3 runs on 4 hits. Buxton highlighted that 3-run inning so far with the 2-run triple. So Duffy, after 6 1/3 innings, is out of the ball game, and it'll be Chris Young coming out of the bullpen. The tall right-hander making his 34th relief appearance. And a 3-run inning. I said last time Twins have had 3 or more run innings, you have to go back to September 15th, that game we didn't televise when Mike Pelfrey started that ball game. Twins scored 4 runs in the 2nd inning off of Pelfrey and chased him.
Grossman, the batter. Now their ball gets thrown away, and now Polanco will go to second base.
That's a ball that Hosmer probably should have caught.
Now earlier we were having a little fun. At least I thought it was fun discussing the home runs you gave up. In 271 innings, a record 50. Chris Young has given up 28 home runs in 87 innings. So at that rate, if they could somehow get him to go 271 innings,
it'll shatter my record.
Was 84 home runs. He's on a pace, if you were to pitch 271 innings, to give up 84 home runs.
But did you hear what I pitched that year? 271
that's what
innings.
I'm saying.
That's not going to happen anymore.
I know.
That's when men were men. Come on, let's drop the ball.
Swinging a foul back that took care of Butera's mask. You know what? Every time we go to Detroit, I look, of course, through the media guide. And was it Mickey Lolich when he was in his prime in the early 70s? I want to say 321 innings, something like that.
Yeah, most I threw 325 one year.
You did?
Yeah. At 40 starts, I averaged 8 innings a start. Over 8 innings, actually.
Of course, you were, as we discussed before the game, you were making $12.5 a year.
Yeah, making big bucks.
Now
and I could still brush my teeth.
For younger fans, we're talking 12,500, not 12.5 million.
No.
2-1 to Grossman. And a strike, 2-2.
Well, Young's been around the game a long time. He's 37 years old. He came up with the Texas Rangers back in 2004.
And now 3-2. Ned Yost, when asked about Young's difficulty this year, they got far more last year than they had any reason to expect from Young. He was a key guy on the pitching staff last year. But he brought up an interesting point. I don't know why he singled Young out for this, but he thought that the shorter postseason last year, with the Royals going all the way through October, winning the World Series, impacted Young more than anybody else. And he didn't elaborate as to why that would be. The pop-up. Butera, Cuthbert. Butera with a one-handed catch. 2 down. So anyway, the hope was that Young would have a longer offseason this year and would be ready to pitch better next year.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the postseason. I mean, you know, he had appearances against Houston, Toronto, and the Mets. Pitched a total of 10 2/3 innings. Gave up only 1 run. He pitched outstanding in postseason. Won a ball game.
Here is Sano. 2 flies to right, one of them to the base of the fence, then a ground ball to third. 1 strike.
You know, with his frame at 6'10", Young, it just looks like that ball's going to come out of his hand probably about 100 miles an hour, but he might top out at 92, 93. That's it. Very good changeup, very good curveball. 2 big men facing each other right here.
That kicks away from Butera, and actually I think came through to Mike Winters, and the ball rolled toward the Kansas City on deck circle. 1-1. Wild pitch, and Polanco goes to third.
Yeah, if you keep a score at home, they gave Young the error that allowed Polanco to go to second base. I thought it was a good throw to Hosmer. He just didn't catch it. But Polanco's at third now.
Hit hard, but it'll hook foul.
Young, the in 2014 American League Comeback Player of the Year. Went through neck surgery. when he was with the Seattle Mariners.
2-2. Butera with the block.
He's done it all. Started, relieved.
And an off-speed pitch. Strikes out Sano. First time he struck out in tonight's game. But the Twins put together 4 hits and a 3-run inning in the 7th. Coverage of baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. Jed Jerko's career was on the downside, and some thought he might play his way out of baseball late in his San Diego tenure, but 28th home run of the year, and the Cards are a game out of the final National League wild card spot. Orioles are playing for a wild card spot. 95th run batted in for Manny Machado. Missing the inside corner, ball 1. Twins now handing Gibson a 2-run lead. He'll pitch to Cuthbert, Butera, and Dyson. 92 pitches. Popped up. This has been one of the better performances Gibson's had in the second half this year. Buxton calls for it, 1 down. Not just the fact that he's given up just 2 runs. He had his rough inning, got through that. He's settled down since, and one of his highest strike percentages, around 70%.
Well, you know, and again, for some reason, maybe because he went to college, you know, an hour and a half from here, family, friends are here. He's pitched really well here at Kauffman Stadium. This is his 5th start here, coming in the first 4 starts, 2-2 with a 2.25 ERA, 28 innings pitched. Prior to the innings tonight, only 7 earned runs allowed. He's only given up 2 runs here tonight.
6 hits, and 4 of those came in the second inning. 1 strike to Butera.
Butera picking up 1 of the runs against Gibson with that RBI single in that 2-run second inning.
Swing and a miss.
Shown a fastball that's 93, 94. That changeup at 82. Slider. So he's got all 3 pitches working.
And Butera on an 0-2 pitch dumps a single into right center field.
It's a slider just in a bad location.
Butera took a big turn after the bobble. A 1-out single, and now Dyson comes up representing the tying run.
Well, you mentioned Butera's had good at-bats against Gibson. Now, you want to bury this slider, but he just kind of left it up and allowed Drew to just kind of reach out and softly hit it into right field. He is now 6 for 8 against Gibson.
Fox Traction was presented by Carrier, and now Dyson hit by a pitch in that second inning. A foul out and a strikeout, bookending that Hit by pitch in the second. Up and away, ball one.
It's an important inning for Gibson, because if this is it, I mean, he's, what's his pitch count at 97 right now? You know, you want to try to get out of the inning without a reliever coming in.
2-0, and I would imagine Gibson will have Dyson. Obviously, he might even have Merrifield, but if it comes to Hosmer, I think we might have a pitching change. Ryan O'Rourke is getting loose along with Michael Tonkin. Dyson, a tough guy to double up.
You want him, no free passes either. They can swing the bat.
Driven to right center field. Butera around second. To third, being waved in. Dyson flying to third. He's got a triple, and the tying run is 90 feet away.
Well, he made a mistake on Drew Butera with that 0-2 slider, and then falls behind on Dyson and threw him a cookie right there. And Dyson hit it sharply into right center.
Ooh.
And with his speed, he's got Buxton type speed. He's going to make it over to third. And Dyson right here, not the long stride of Buxton, but boy, this guy's just as quick.
So just like that, the Royals have the tying run at third. Whit Merrifield is 0 for 3 against Gibson, and the Twins will bring the infield in. They've just scored 3 times to give Gibson a 2-run lead, and the Royals strike back quickly. At the knee, strike one.
That triple by Dyson, his 8th triple, driving in his 25th run.
One strike to Merrifield.
Good changeup right there. Fastball to get ahead, then a good changeup.
Now he has Merrifield where he had Butera.
He's had a good changeup here tonight because of the location of his changeups. Been down. 8 strikeouts for Gibson. Got Merrifield in the 5th inning on a slider down and away.
Came inside with a fastball.
Remember, that was a slider that Merrifield swung at that had to be a foot outside, if you remember, down and away. Now you worked him inside, he fouled it off. Do you go back in, or do you go back to that slider? See what they decide. Going back inside again.
Base hit left field, tie game. Another 0-2 base hit.
I don't understand the sequence right there, especially as a pitcher. You have to remember what the guy swung and missed on. And it kept going in, and here comes Paul Molitor. So somebody not thinking out there, because Merrifield, who swung and missed at a ball a foot outside, gets a fastball he could drive into left field.
So the lead doesn't last long. 3 straight Kansas City hits, and Gibson will come out sailing into the 7th and then giving up the 2-run lead very quickly. thinking too much.
Well, you know what? I mean, we're going to show you a sequence now. This is the first pitch inside. Prior to that, he fouled it off right there. Prior to that, Murphy wanted the slider. Okay, Gibson shook him off. Watch Murphy again. Slider. No, says Gibson. Fastball. Wants to go back inside again. So Murphy remembered, I believe, that Merrifield swung at that slider that was a foot outside. It was Gibson who wanted to go back inside, and that's not thinking out there. That's just throwing.
Hosmer will hit against Ryan O'Rourke. The game is tied, and Merrifield's at first.
Ryan O'Rourke coming in for the 24th time. He's done a good job out of that bullpen.
Mark Burley claimed that he never shook off a catcher. One of the reasons he worked fast, he just figured that's a catcher's job to call the game, and I'll just worry about executing the pitch.
Yep. And sometimes you overthink yourself. I did it throughout my career, but my goodness, if a guy has that bad a swing against you in your prior at bat and you struck him out and made him look foolish, why wouldn't you go out there again to see if he'd do it again?
Popped up near the Twins dugout, now to play. Did you think you had a good memory out there?
Yes, okay. I did. Yes, I did. And you know what helped me? You know what helped me the most? My first catcher was George Meadowall. He did a great job. Phil Roof became my personal catcher, early in my career after he came over from the Brewers. And he really taught me how to pitch. And believe me, I did not shake him off. We were on that same wavelength, and I carried that wavelength to all my catchers. You have to. You have to sit between innings. Always between innings, I made sure my catcher was there. We communicated during the ball game. I didn't want to be told after a ball game if my catcher sees I'm doing something wrong. I want to be told then. You could ask Tim Laudner. We were talking all the time.
Talking smack sometimes, weren't you?
Only when Tim walked away and he went up to hit me a home run, that's all.
Well, the reason I asked about a memory, catchers I know have to have good memories. Murphy, as you said, remembered Merrifield's, futile swing and miss in the 5th inning. It wasn't that long ago, actually. We're just in the 7th inning.
Well, how did Gibson get hurt that inning? How did he get hurt that inning? Butera 0-2, left the slider up. Butera got the base hit. Fell behind on Dyson. Gave him a cookie right there. Dyson hit the triple. And then Merrifield on an 0-2 pitch, after he fouled off an 0-2 pitch, came right back with the same pitch, got the base hit. So twice 0-2. He was ahead in the count. He got hurt.
1-2 to Hosmer. Dozier, not Morales, the on-deck hitter. And
good slider.
And O'Rourke continues to really do well against lefties. And that'll be his only man faced tonight. O'Rourke now giving up just 2 hits in 23 at-bats against lefties.
Well, I'll tell you what, that home run he gave up to Granderson, that's a pretty good pitch. Tip your hat to Granderson when he hit that game-winner home run.
So O'Rourke asked to get out Hosmer for out number 2. And Hunter Dozier will bat, presumably against Michael Tonka, who will pitch next when we come back. pitcher of the inning, with the Royals getting 3 hits and a couple of runs so far.
Yeah, Michael making his 65th relief appearance. He worked here on Tuesday night in the 11th inning loss to the Royals. 2/3 of an inning, had a strikeout through 10 pitches, 5 for strikes. So Michael coming in with a good fastball, hard slider.
Dozier will hit. He entered the game in the 5th inning in the DH spot for Morales. We haven't been given word that there was a health situation that led to Morales' departure, but it is a big difference here in this 7th inning. Rather than the veteran Morales, who's done so well from the left side of the plate, it's Dozier in the DH spot with a runner at first and 2 down. But now gotta keep an eye on Merrifield. Breaking ball and strike 1. Tonkin has struggled this year holding runners, and Merrifield able to steal a base if you ignore him.
Yeah, there's been 13 stolen bases off of him in 14 attempts.
Merrifield 8 for 11. Tapper to third. Foul.
One thing I have seen Michael do, and he's remember he had that high leg kick, and that allowed runners to take off. He's talking to Neil Allen. He's really working on that slide step. Not as high a leg kick with that left leg coming up.
Two strikes. Breaking ball. In this day and age where there's so much emphasis placed on relief pitching and getting outs in the last 3 innings, and rosters are put together now with a focus on the last 3 innings and not so much the first 6. Relievers have to. They just have to hold runners and control the running game. Do what they can to control the running game.
And a couple of those are good for Tonkin right there. A couple throwovers.
Jared Burton had a couple of good years for the Twins pitching in this role. And there goes Merrifield. Strike 3. And the ball goes almost into center field, but no stolen base. It's a strikeout and the end of the inning. The Royals get 3 hits and 2 runs, and we're tied going to the 8th. It's going to be exciting. It is going to be fun. And Detroit didn't play because they were rained out. And so they would be, if that score holds, a game and a half. Both Toronto and Baltimore. Vargas takes ball one against Chris Young in a tie game. Kepler and Escobar will follow. Vargas with a big swing and a miss, 1-1. Vargas with a strikeout in the first, a double in the fourth, and then a home run to straightaway center field as a right-handed batter. Fouled back, 1-2. And Young's given up a lot of hits this year and a lot of home runs. Opponents hitting just about 300 against him with the 28 home runs in 87 and a fraction innings. Just missed the corner.
I just think this guy right here just was such a big part of their success last year. I know he struggled this year.
Yeah. Gave him 13 starts, 2-2. And now 3-2.
You know, he got the game. He got the win in Game 1 of the World Series when he came out of the bullpen, and he worked the final 3 innings. Did not allow a hit, and the Royals came and finally won that game 5-4.
Now the sense on Vargas is that he's come back from a disappointing year, and it was. He spent most of it in AAA, but he was sent down with these numbers last year. A .240 average, 175 at bats, 5 home runs, 17 runs batted in. Snap bat, and Escobar in short center makes the catch, 1 away. And it's not like, you know, he's hitting 170 and striking out every other time. Young gets him, and that'll bring up Kepler. Carsoup.com trivia question. I'll go with Hal McRae. He was an RBI guy for the Royals.
I'll go with Big John Mayberry.
Hey, back in 1972, and I'm just guessing.
He was a big RBI guy.
Some of those RBIs might have been against you.
Probably.
Here's Kepler. Takes strike one. Kepler with a couple of ground balls and a liner to center.
Well, he was kind of in that middle of that lineup too, so he had a lot of, you know, Willie Wilson, those guys got on, and he knocked them in.
Cookie Rojas drove in 18 the next year.
Yeah, they had a couple of real good second basemen here, Cookie Rojas and then Frank White.
Freddie Patek, the shortstop for a while.
Yep.
2-1. Pitch over for strike 2.
You know, Young, again, you know, as tall as he is, 6'10", he gives you that short arm type delivery. Almost looks like, you know, being that tall, you can kind of just place it into the glove of Butera. And he did right there. Gets his second strikeout. Good fastball inside.
We'll bring up Escobar. It's fall hard a couple of times tonight.
It's not an overpowering fastball. It's control. This guy's a pitcher. Yes, he has struggled, but
look where the pitch ended up and where Butera was asking for it.
That's pitching.
And Escobar led off the 3-run 7th with a single and scored. And that's the pitch to Escobar. Thought it was inside. Good series for Escobar, including a home run. 1-1. Two and 1.
Young, 37 years old, out of Princeton University, had a chance to play professional basketball. Excuse me. Sacramento Kings offered him a contract, but he chose baseball. Good slider down and in. You know, when you win the World Series, you know, you have your key players, but you have other guys that step up, and Young was one of those guys. Won 11 ball games for him.
And Escobar takes full count. John Ryan Murphy on deck. Foul back. Hit hard, just foul.
That slider hung right there. Escobar hit it hard, but foul. Young made the All-Star team when he was with the San Diego Padres back in 2007. He's pitched for the Rangers, Padres, Mets, Mariners, and now in his second season with the Royals. Going back to the slider he just hung. He hopes to make a better slider.
And Escobar takes a walk. Young retired the first 4 batters he faced, but now a 2-out walk in the 8th, and Murphy will hit. You can follow Twins baseball live with the MLB.com at-bat app. Customize at-bat to feature the Twins. Stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game video highlights, StatCast news, and more. Plus, subscribe to At-Bat Premium to get the MLB.TV game of the day, radio broadcasts, in-game highlights, enhanced game day features, and more. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Download MLB.com At-Bat, the #1 app for live baseball, and hurry, because the season ends on Friday.
Hurry up.
Or Sunday.
Did you get that out?
Murphy takes ball 1. Murphy with a single and a run scored his last time up. Swing and a miss, 1-1. Escobar not much of a threat to steal. Count to Murphy, 1-1. And now 1-2.
Slider down and away.
Young pitches a scoreless, hitless top of the 8th. Start of the 8th inning, trying to get Paulo Orlando out. He is 3 for 3 with 2 doubles and a single.
Yeah, those off of Kyle Gibson. Tonkin struck out the batter he needed to get out of the 7th inning. Good fastball right there. Orlando swings through it.
Orlando's average now up to 306. 3 games to go. Pretty good bet that he'll finish the season with a 300 or better batting average. You were talking about Gibson hoping to have a good outing here, bringing his ERA below 5, just because a 4 looks better than a 5.
Right.
And from a hitter standpoint, a 3 in front of your batting average looks better than a 2. 1-1. 4 for 4. Not a cheapie among them either. 2 doubles, 2 sharp singles, and the go-ahead runs aboard here, leading off the 8th inning.
This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Minnesota Twins LLC.
Gordon with a single and 2 strikeouts. Sano in on the edge of the grass at third. In the event Gordon drops down a bunt.
Orlando with 14 stolen bases in 16 attempts.
Taking low, ball 1.
Yeah, Gordon doesn't have a sacrifice yet this year. I don't think he'll be sacrificing here.
And now 2-0. After Gordon, Escobar, Cuthbert, and Butera. As you might imagine, the Royals have a whole host of options on the bench. Including Salvador Perez. Liner. Hitting the runner, the throw hit Orlando in the back. Otherwise it would have been a double play. Orlando retreating to the bag right along the throwing lane, if there is such a thing on a play like that, from Escobar.
Yeah, right in the middle of number 16 right here. Orlando going back and I guess taking one for the team. So Twins had a chance to double them up, but Orlando gets in the way to throw it toward it. First base.
If it is deemed to be intentional, they can call the runner out. That was the infamous Reggie Jackson play in the World Series in the 70s when Reggie threw his hip out retreating to first base, but that was not the case here with Orlando. Alcides Escobar with Orlando at first. Escobar's bounced into a couple of double plays already in this series. And Tonkin would love to get him here. Pat Light, Pat Dean warming up in the Twins bullpen. Down and away, 1-0. Orioles beat the Blue Jays 4-0, so now there's a wild card tie between those two teams. Tigers rained out. They're a game and a half back. Toronto will play at Boston this weekend. Baltimore will play at New York against the Yankees, and the Tigers go to Atlanta to play an interleague series against the Braves.
And the Braves are playing very good baseball.
There goes the runner, a blinder to center, and Buxton with a shoestring catch, and Orlando scampers back to first again. So a base hit by Orlando, 2 lineouts, and Cuthbert will hit apparently against Tonkin. Every weekday morning, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp go head-to-head on the day's hottest sports topics. Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Central, only on FS1. Cuthbert will hit against Tonkin. Slider off the plate. Cuthbert's 0 for 3. Fastball gets a swing and a miss.
We've seen that fastball of Tonkin's has some sink to it too. Two-seam fastball. He'll throw the four-seamer. So do two different types of fastballs. And then the hard slider.
Big leg kick, runner goes, swing, and a foul, I believe. And Orlando will go back to the bag. Murphy stung by that foul tip. Counts 1 and 2. I read something the other day. Somebody was saying the pitch outs are so uncommon now. This would be a situation maybe to pitch out, wouldn't it? Well, unintentionally, Tonkin hooked a slider into the dirt.
Well, great job by Murphy right there, knocking it down and keeping Orlando.
You notice that? I mean, and you know, as I read it, I thought, you know what, that's right. We just don't see many pitch outs anymore.
Who was it at home was asked to pitch out and he threw it in a backstop? Was that in that Detroit series?
Yeah, it was Pat Light. He tried to intentional walk somebody.
Pat Light, yeah.
2 and 2. There's a strikeout on the outside corner, and Tonkin pumps his fist. He got through the 8th inning, and we head to the 9th, tied at 4. Starting tonight. If you're looking to keep your young ball player active this offseason, look no further than the Twins youth camps presented by the Select Heartland Chevy dealers. Camps are geared toward youth 7 to 14, boys and girls. They begin MEA weekend and continue through March of 2017. Instruction is led by Twins personnel as well as top college and high school coaches. Training focuses on hitting drills to improve swings and throwing lessons to gain velocity while avoiding injury. Registration's now open at twinsbaseball.com/training. This is the guy who has plenty of velocity, Kelvin Herrera.
Yeah, he worked here on Tuesday night in the 8th inning. Had a couple strikeouts, also walked a couple through 17 pitches, 9 over the plate for strikes.
And a soft line drive snagged by Merrifield. Sounded like he cracked his bat. Schaefer's quickly retired for the first out of the 9th inning. And that'll bring up Buxton.
Herrera making his 72nd relief appearance. He's allowed only 52 hits in 71 1/3 innings.
Buxton's had one of his better nights at the plate. He fell behind in his first plate appearance and drew a 3-2 walk on a close pitch. And he's hit the ball very hard twice, lining out to Escobar and then lining one just out of the reach of Escobar for a 2-run triple, and then later a run scored in the 7th. 1 strike. And now to the left field corner. Gordon won't get there. And Buxton to second. And he'll slam on the brakes. So Buxton's best game perhaps as a big leaguer. He's hit 3 line drives tonight and drawn a walk.
Well, another breaking ball. That's what he hit off of Duffy. A high breaking ball that he hit for the triple. Here a breaking ball stayed up. And he lines it right down that left field line. Gordon retrieves it and gets it back in. So Buxton with a 2-run triple, now a double. His 18th double of the year.
Polanco with a hit, a walk, an RBI hit. In fact, in the 7th, he scored Buxton from third with a sharp single to center. Strike. Polanco scanning the infield. And Butera throws back. Buxton back safely. That's okay. Buxton taking a big secondary lead. 1-1.
That's what the Royals have. They have 2 catchers that like to do this. They like to show off their arms, and Perez does it. Butera does it. Buxton back in safely.
1-1 to Polanco. And now Butera to the mound.
Yeah, I think Escobar to the shortstop. He kind of wanted Butera to come out. Escobar wants to talk to him a little bit right here.
And in another case where Buxton's speed becomes a factor, because they have to be aware and try to keep him as close to second as they can. Herrera with a big leg kick typically. Now the inside move.
And maybe that's what Escobar wanted him to do. Just show it to him.
Right.
Because I was watching Escobar and he was kind of behind Buxton with his hands waved like he wanted Butera to go out there.
Inside, 2-1.
Of course, you don't pay attention to that runner. That's how Kansas City.
Right.
You know, that's their game. You don't pay attention to me at second, I'll steal third.
And if you're going to beat them, you have to beat them at their own game. You have to play aggressively in situations like this. The other day, 2 nights ago, similar spot, Buxton drew a late inning, I believe it was in the 10th inning, a walk, and he got the green light to steal, but he didn't take off. Now, stealing third's a different animal, of course, but if you play these Royals passively, they will beat you. 3-1 now to Polanco with Grossman on deck. Big leg kick again, and a swing and a miss. 3-2.
A little more difficult to try to steal third with a left-handed hitter up there, because Butera, he's got a clean shot at third base.
So we saw when Gore stole it the other day, it was with a right-handed batter in the box. Wow. Hosmer with a great pick, then he fumbles the ball, and Polanco is safe. A wicked one-hop smash, and Hosmer had it in the glove, and it inexplicably rolled out.
Well, I don't know if he could have been able to beat Polanco to the bag anyway. He was playing back. Polanco hit it sharply. He's hustling. You see where that ball was.
He never did have it in the glove, did he?
Nope. And then Herrera was late getting over.
I thought he picked it, but he deflected it up in the air, so Polanco gets an infield hit. Buxton gets third base, and here's Grossman. And now having Buxton at third base will change how the Royals defend the infield here. We're just going to have the infield in halfway with Grossman at the plate. Herrera, of course, a strikeout pitcher, and Grossman takes outside. Grossman with a single his first time up. He did bounce into a double play in the third. Checked his swing, 2-0. Polanco with a short lead at first. Grossman swings and misses.
Looked like a changeup right there.
At 91.
He's left a couple breaking balls up. Buxton got a high breaking ball.
And safety squeeze, and Grossman fouled it straight back. At least I assume that's what that was. Well, Grossman had one swing, and he tried to put down a bunt, and if it was on the ground anywhere, Buxton, assuming he was in on the gig, would have scored. 2-2. Sano on deck. To center. And down for a hit. Grossman delivers. Buxton comes in. Dyson again has problems with the ball, and Polanco will go to third base. Big hit for Robbie Grossman.
Yeah, Grossman picking up his second hit, driving in his 37th run. And a good read right there by Polanco, seeing that that ball was not going to get caught. Sinker down and away. And Grossman hitting it softly into right center. And Polanco watching the flight of the ball. You see right there, he took off. That's good base running.
Dyson juggled it. He wasn't going to throw Polanco out at third anyway.
Oh, but Polanco got a great jump. He got a great read on that.
So 3 straight hits for the Twins against the Kansas City setup man, Herrera. Miguel Sano will bat, looking for his first hit. Sano with the 24 home runs, but just 61 runs batted in. And over time, the Twins will see improvement in situations like this. 3-run home run would be nice, but he doesn't need to do that here. He needs to put the ball in play deep enough to score Polanco from third.
He needs to do what he did in his second at bat, just take it the other way, meaning toward right field.
Herrera came in with a fastball.
That's what makes Miguel Cabrera, such a good hitter in situations like this, because he's not looking to drive the ball out of the ballpark. He's looking to hit that ball toward up the middle or to right field. And this is something that, you know, Sano will learn.
He chops one through the hole, a base hit. The Twins have 2 here in the 9th and 4 straight hits against Kelvin Herrera.
Good hitting right there by Sano, picking up his first hit. Then driving in his 62nd run.
And now Vargas.
Well, fastball. See, Butera wanted it away. The ball inside. Sano driving in a run, kind of chopping it through the infield.
Vargas, who's already had a couple of extra base hits, has 2 men out there with only 1 out. Strike 1. Paul Molitor was talking about Vargas, and yeah, the 10 home runs are nice. 20 runs batted in, though, and 135 at bats. And these are situations they would like Vargas to improve upon. Get the single. The type of base hit that Sano just got. Drive in runs one at a time when a single will get the job done. And now Herrera gets ahead 0-2. Fouled straight back. Six runs for the Twins and two multi-run innings. Taken down and away 1-2.
Now, Herrera coming into this ball game, very, very good numbers, but he's also 2-5 out of that bullpen, so that tells you he's had a couple games like this that he comes in and has a tough time.
Up high, now 2-2.
This will be pitch number 22 for Herrera.
And now a full count. This is the most erratic I think we've ever seen. Herrera, you mentioned it before on the base hit to Sano. Butera wanted the pitch away, and usually this guy throws hard with command.
Well, you watch, and you know his curveball just hasn't been there tonight. He left a couple of them up. He threw one in the dirt. So basically, his fastball changeup. Another
and
fastball.
Vargas strikes out for out number 2.
Taking something off that pitch right there. So Herrera picks up a strikeout. Yeah, changeup. Had some movement on it.
And now Kepler 0 for 4. A couple of ground outs, a line out, and he was called out on strikes his last time up. Doink behind third. And what a catch by Cuthbert. If he caught it, he did not catch it. Now, third base umpire Ramon De Jesus made that call, and he must have been peering between his legs to see the ball hit the ground. Cuthbert, I think, had the wind knocked out of him.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised he kind of dove for that ball. I thought he could keep running and then maybe, you know, make the over the shoulder catch. See him jump right there, and then ball must have trickled out of his hand or glove. Let's take a look right here. Yep, he never really had the ball in the glove.
One strike to Kepler.
A great effort, though.
25th pitch of the outing for Herrera. Buxton's one-out double opening the door for the Twins. They strung 4 hits together and now have 12 hits in the game, and more importantly, 6 runs. Very high. Got to believe this is Herrera's last batter. We saw Brooks Pounders, who won the game here 2 nights ago, warming up. And a line line drive into center field, a base hit. Grossman around third. Dyson overruns the ball. And now the throw going to third base, and Kepler goes to second. And Sano.
He dove past the bag. Hopefully he's all right.
Appears to be okay. Well, a big hit for Kepler, driving in another run.
Well, fastball, Kepler right off the end of the bat, hitting it softly just over the leaping Escobar. Into center field, Dyson has a little trouble, took his eye off the ball, and allowed both runners to advance.
RBI for Kepler, an error charge to Dyson. And Herrera with a rare rough outing against the Twins. He gives up 5 hits and so far 3 runs. RBI singles, one of them by Miguel Sano, and a very aggressive slide to third.
Well, you saw Dyson right there let that ball go away, and then Sano diving head first and then going through the bag and knocking Cuthbert down. The big man.
So Pounders comes in with the Twins putting 3 up at the top of the ninth. 2 men out there in scoring position for Escobar.
As you mentioned, Pounders got the win here on Tuesday night in the 11th inning win. Pounders worked, got the final 2 outs in the 11th inning, 8 pitches, 5 for strikes. 3 different stints this year for Pounders at 25 years old.
Up and away, ball 1.
Well, we saw from Pounders here a couple nights ago, fastball, slider.
A strike called, 1-1.
Change up right there.
8th man to bat here in the 9th inning. Brandon Kinsler would have a save situation if the score stays the same. Guessing Kinsler's going to pitch anyway, since he's the only one warming up, and Tonkin pitched parts of 2 innings. 1 and 2 to Escobar.
And he hasn't pitched in a while either.
Twins shut out tonight through 5 innings, and then Vargas homered. The Twins scored 3 in the 7th, and now 3 here in the 9th.
Now looking to win for the first time here in Kansas City this year.
Up and in, 2-2.
Nice slider.
That wasn't an exaggeration when we were talking in the open about Twins coming here for 9 games. You could pretty much count on them winning 6 or 7, right?
Used to be, yeah.
Grounder right side. Merrifield has it. And the inning ends. It'll be a save situation for Brandon Kintzler because the Twins really swung the bats well in the top of the ninth. Byron Buxton with the best series of at-bats he's had in a game in his big league career. He really hit the ball hard 3 times. 2 extra base hits. Sano added an RBI single in the 9th. So it's all set up with Kepler adding another RBI single. It's all set up for Kintzler to pick up his 16th save of the year.
Yeah, Twins have only 24 saves. Kintzler looking for save number 16 on the year. Only 7 walks, 1 intentional in 51 1/3 innings. He last worked on Saturday against the Mariners at home, where he picked up his 15th save in the 3-2 win.
Drew Butera with 2 more hits against Kyle Gibson. He'll lead off the 9th against Kintzler. Strike 1. Dyson and Merrifield are scheduled, but as we mentioned before, there are guys like Salvador Perez, Billy Burns, Daniel Nava available should Ned Yost call on them. 1-1. On the outside corner.
Straight over the top fastball for Brandon.
Chop. Sano bare hands and can't make the play. Another hit for Butera. He's got a 3-hit ball game. The other 2 were hit hard. This one was not, but the leadoff man is on.
Yeah, Kintzler could not get to it. Sano tried to barehand it. Never really got a good grip on that baseball. Not too many times Drew Butera will get an infield base hit.
As the 3rd hit of the ball game.
So Kintzler thought about it, but Sano called him off. And
well, now Kintzler will try to get Dyson. Merrifield on deck, and then the middle of the lineup, Hosmer and Dozier scheduled. Remember, he entered midway through the game for Morales. Base hit center field. And the Royals will bring the tying run to the plate in Whit Merrifield. That ball was hit hard.
Dyson picking up his second hit, jumping on that first pitch.
Merrifield with an RBI single his last time up, 1 for 4. Merrifield 2 doubles and 3 hits in 3 at bats against Kinsler. Kinsler's never gotten him out. Ball 1. Dyson now 2 for 5 against Kinsler. Butera now 2 for 2 against him. And off the plate 2-0. To Whit Merrifield. And now Kinsler struggling to throw strikes with Hosmer on deck.
Again, unlike Kinsler, Polanco's going to come in and give him a little breather right here. Get back in the strike zone.
Kinsler 15 for 18 in save opportunities. This is starting to get dicey in a hurry. Merrifield with just 2 home runs hit on the season.
I'm assuming he'll take a pitch here. And he does.
Kinsler, a pitch to contact guy, and has gotten most of his outs on ground ball outs. He'd like to get at least 1 out on a ground ball here. Draws or issues a walk. Nobody out. Base is loaded for Hosmer.
And Neil Allen on his way out.
Hosmer's never faced Kinsler. Eventually we'll get to Chicago, and it'll be Tyler Duffy going for the Twins and lefty Carlos Rodon for the White Sox. Well, this is not how you want to start an inning with a 3-run lead. Single walk. And now the middle of the Kansas City lineup. Hosmer and then Dozier. And we still have not been given word as to why Morales left the game. It may have been with the Royals out of the race. Ned Yost said, hey, we'll give you 2 at bats and then we'll switch.
Well, they'll also get a look at Dozier in situations like this.
Hosmer facing Kinsler for the first time.
Hosmer not a guy either that'll take too many pitches. We saw him against Gibson swing a lot. So he's ready to swing on that first pitch.
Ground ball to second. And a double play just like that. 2 down. A run scores with the tying run now in the batter's box rather than first base.
You know, on Saturday when Kinsler came in for the save against the Mariners, he gave up a base hit to Cano and then an error, and then he got the double play off of Kyle Seager. So big double play right there, turned by the Twins.
And it will be Sal Perez pinch hitting for Dozier with the Royals down to their last out. Perez is 1 for 2 with a triple against Kinsler. You and I probably saw it. I think we'd remember that. And Perez catches so much he hardly ever pinch hits. He's 1 for 2 as a pinch hitter. Strike one. Perez, and if the game isn't over with, hot hitting Paulo Orlando is on deck. He's got 4 hits tonight. One strike to Perez. Base hit left field. And Perez is aboard. Gore will pinch run for him. And Orlando will come up as the potential winning run. Perez with a pinch hit RBI single. And Orlando, who already has 4 hits, including 2 doubles, will come up with it now, a 1-run game.
Yeah, double in the second inning. That hit off the wall, a double in the third. And then in the 6th inning, a base hit. And then in the 8th inning, a base hit.
His second 4-hit game of the year. The other one came against the Twins. And Gore, as we saw here the other night, capable of stealing not just second, but third.
Well, his goal is to get the second.
Close play, and he just got back. Yeah, they're going to take a look at this. Paul Molitor puts the hand out of the dugout, says, hold on.
Yeah, quick feet right there, Kinsler.
They're going to challenge. They think they got him. They might be right. The tag in the ribs. See if we have a definitive angle here.
You see, he was taken off.
He's out. They got him on the ribs. That angle looked like the tag was made right before his fingers got to the bag. Be a shame, wouldn't it, if Orlando was left in the batter's box with a 4-hit night?
And the Twins finally win one here like that.
You could see Gore was going to second base. And Kinsler's quick move. Is there enough evidence, take a look at it here, to overturn the safe call?
You see Vargas taking that ball in the glove right down on Gore.
Yeah, he's out. Here we go. Out. Game over. Gore picked off first by Kinsler, who has a very rough time of it in the 9th inning. 3 singles and a walk, but a pickoff of Gore, and the Twins have won here in Kansas City.
It's only fitting that the Twins won that way. The Royals were coming back, but the Twins end up winning.
And Anthony, the Twins will head to Chicago with a win in Kansas City against the Royals.